So the question I get quite often is what made me stop being a Trump-loving MAGA fanatic? And I've shared this story quite often, but we have a lot of new followers, so I will talk about it again. So I did 10 years in the Florida Department of Corrections. While in prison, I met a man by the name of Rashawn Clark. Rashawn Clark was sentenced to 20 years at the age of 16, despite the Juvenile Justice Department saying that he should get a program rather than prison. Now, Rashawn had one felony. It was a pretty serious charge in which nobody was hurt. He was also the least culpable in his crime with all of his co-defendants. He was the youngest and least culpable. Now, I, on the other hand, had been to prison twice and home both times before Rashawn got out once. In fact, he's still not home yet. He gets out next year. But I had 14 felonies, and those felonies carried up to about 175 years. And I used to tell Rashawn and many other of my black friends in prison that Donald Trump and the Republican Party will be the best thing that ever happened to them. And many of them laughed at me. And basically what Rashawn told me is that look at the Republican Party all across the country in every state and how they are legislating laws that are preventing criminal justice reform. They're creating barriers for formerly incarcerated individuals and convicted felons to successfully transition back into society. He said at the height of the Black Lives Matters movement, rather than acknowledge the police brutality and the targeting of marginalized communities by law enforcement all across the country, many conservatives and Republicans retaliated with their own protests talking about Blue Lives Matter and All Lives Matter, rather than listening to what is going on and how these people are impacted by our law enforcement. And I did what any typical conservative would do. Well, just don't commit crime. Accept accountability for your actions. We have no one to blame but ourselves for why we are here. And the next thing Rashawn said to me has always stuck with me. He said the difference is when the judge sentenced you to prison, he saw himself in you. He saw an all-American boy, somebody who'd been to college, somebody who played professional baseball, somebody who fell victim to mental health illness and substance abuse disorder, somebody that just needed help. He said, so they spared you and gave you many chances. He said, however, my first encounter with the law at the age of 16, that judge didn't see the all-American boy. He didn't see himself in me. What he saw was somebody who is subhuman, somebody who is savage, a thug, a criminal, and a predator. Then he told me to go read The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness by Michelle Alexander. And that book forever changed my life. The empirical data, coupled with my personal experience, I just could not refute the truth anymore. And once you see the truth, you can never unsee it.